Welcome to my Vanguard Mystic guide. This comp is one of the easiest to play in the game right now, and it's also very strong. We will go over the build, the items you make, how to play the early, mid, and late game, then we go over how to position with this comp, and lastly we go over how the different galaxies change your game plan. The level 8 build looks like this with 4 Vanguards and 4 Mystics. It is very limited in terms of what you can play. There are 6 Vanguards in the game, but we run Wukong, Jace, Nautilus, and Mordekaiser. We don't run Poppy or Leona, although they are commonly used in the early and mid game as transition units for this comp. The 4 Mystics we run are Cassiopeia, Soraka, Karma, and Lulu. You run Bard until you find Lulu. She's a legendary, so sometimes it can be a bit hard to find her. I also want to point out that you almost never go for 3 stars with this build unless you're uncontested and very healthy. At level 9 you add in either Urgot or Thresh. Both of these options are great, and whichever you choose is based on the lobby. Thresh gives chrono buff, which synergizes well with this comp, as the fights last very long. Because of this, Thresh can also pull in multiple units during a fight. Urgot gives battle cast, which procs multiple times on Cassiopeia when she has Morello. Urgot also can eat champions that you struggle to kill like the mech, or a 3-star champion that is stacked like the Syndra in this example. The win condition of this build is to make the fights last as long as possible so that Cassiopeia's ult can get as much value as possible. Therefore Cassiopeia is your main carry. Your secondary carry in my opinion is actually Soraka. Her heal gives insane value with this comp, so protect her as well as Cassiopeia when playing this comp. Cassiopeia is your main carry, so we prioritize making items for her first. She has 2 core items that you must have for her to do well, Blue Buff and Morello. Blue Buff is important as she only needs 1 auto to cast again. Morello is important as it deals a ton of damage over time, and this comp is all about stalling. The third item for Cassiopeia is either RFC, GA, Trapclaw, or QSS. RFC is the best one out of these 4 as you can backline her. When she doesn't have RFC, she can walk up into danger as her attack range is only 420, which is 2 tiles. If you can't make RFC, either of the last 3 work, but Trapclaw might be the strongest as of right now. After you made Cassiopeia items, you make support items. These are tank or utility items. I am going to mention the best ones you can make here. Bramble, Warmogs, Locket, and Thieves' Gloves are great tank items. You want to put these on either Wukong or Jace. This is because these 2 are the best tank units in your comp. Bramble Vest is really good if people have built IE, and is also great if there are a lot of Irelia players in the lobby. Warmogs just gives more health, so Wukong is more likely to ult. Locket is a good item considering your frontline will be in a line and you get good value out of the item. TG is just a really high value item as you get multiple items for just making 1. You can also make a Frozen Heart or Ionic Spark. Both of these want to go on Wukong as he dashes into the enemy team with his ultimate. Redemption and Shroud can go on any of the 4 Vanguards. Both of these items are great for stalling. Spirit Sojourn goes on either Soraka, Thresh, or Urgot. All of these ultimates are high value and take a long time to get casted a second time. Zephyr is a great item, especially if you are good at scouting and Zephyr sniping. This wants to go on a unit you can move around a lot. In this comp, that is Mordekaiser, Lulu, or Thresh. If you get a Spatula, you can make either Protector Cassiopeia or make a Celestial Spat. Protector Spat acts as a defensive item for Cassiopeia, and with Blue Buff it is very high value considering she is ulting all the time, and therefore her shield is up all the time. You will not be able to fit 4 Mystic at level 8 when doing this, but you can fit it back in at level 9. I have made a general early game guide where I go more in depth into how to play the early game, but I will go over how to play the early game for 4 Vanguard, 4 Mystic specifically here. Carousel priority is Tiered, Rod, Chain, Glove. Chain and Glove make a ton of great items, so if you can't pick up a Tier or a Rod, go for them instead. In the early game, you buy units that you can 2-star and that synergize well together. You want to prioritize picking up Vanguards here, but I would not force this build so hard that you choose to pick up 1 Poppy and 1 Leona over a 2-star Malphite and Illaoi. I have made some early game boards that you can aim for in your games. First one runs 2 Brawler with 2 Chrono. If you take out Graves, this is one of the strongest level 3 boards in the entire game. You can run Caitlyn over TF as well, but you run whichever you have 2-starred first. Second one runs 3 Cybers. You can take out Poppy to run Graves instead for 2 Blaster. Third one runs 3 Rebels and Sigs as your main carry. This is very strong if you can find a blue buff early game, as Sigs will just constantly ult and shred through the enemy team. Fourth one runs 3 Star Guardians and Ahri as your main carry. She is also a great item carrier for Cassiopeia as she uses both blue buff and Morello very well. Fifth one runs Bard. This build is used to snowball and always be 1 level in front of everyone else. This way you don't actually get punished for running Bard. The earlier you find Bard, the better he is. You also just run tank units to stall the fight, so that Bard ults multiple times. Some great items to make early game are Bramble Vest, Blue Buff, GA, Ionic Spark, Thieves Gloves, and Sapphire. Be careful when using up a component for either Blue Buff or Morello when making items early game. Tiers are very contested as of right now, so prioritize getting the 2 you need for the Blue Buff first. But if you use a Barad or a Belt to make another item, it's not that big of a deal as you only need 1 of each to complete the item later. If you're strong in the early game, level to 4 on 2-2, and if you're still streaking by stage 2-5, level to 5 there. Scout before leveling. Sometimes you feel strong when you actually are not. If you level to lose, that means you're just getting way too far behind on economy. If you're not leveling, you want to have at least 10 gold by stage 2-3. Sometimes if you have a 4 item start, you'll be really poor. In that case, make sure you have at least 10 gold by stage 2-5. At Krugs, you want to see if you are able to play this comp or not. If you don't have a single tier or rod yet, and the comp is contested, it will be a hard game. This build can support up to 3 people, so most of the time you can always go for this build as long as you have the items for it. I have made a general mid-game guide that I will link in the description, but I will go over how to play the mid-game for Vanguard Mystic specifically here. In the mid-game, you will need a mid-game carry. This is a unit that can use the items you have made well. You build a team around that mid-game carry. I have made some mid-game boards that you can aim for in your games. First one runs 3 Cybers with Lucian carry. Although Lucian is not a great item carry for Cassiopeia, he still puts in work with a cybernetic buff. Second one runs Sigs as your main carry. He is a great user of blue buff and a great mid-game carry with rebel buff. Third one runs 3 Star Guardians. You can also run 4 sorcerers with this. Ari is a great item carry for Cassiopeia. She uses both blue buff and Morello well. Fourth one runs Cassiopeia as your main carry. This is just a level 6 version of the level 8 build. You can also run Bard over Karma if you are strong. During the mid-game, you want to either level aggressively to win streak or play more passive and focus on econ. Always level if you can stay above 40 gold after leveling. Always consider leveling if you can stay above 30 gold after leveling. Whenever you level, you should have something good to put in that gives you something in terms of frontline, synergies, or damage. Don't level to put in a Malphite 1-star. It is very common to level to 6 on stage 3-2, and if you are strong, level to 7 on 3-5 to keep win streaking. If you're super weak and your board sucks, level to 7 on 3-5 to all in. You need to have at least 20 to 30 gold to roll with if you're going to do this effectively. In the mid game, you want to scout to see what comps other people are playing and which comps are open. You also scout to see how you should position against the others. You also need to scout to see how many people you beat before and after leveling. Same thing goes in the mid game. If you level to lose, you are just hurting your econ. If you see that a bunch of people are playing Vanguard Mystics and you don't want to contest it, consider pivoting into Astro Snipers or Mech Sorcerers. In the late game, you start off by leveling to 7 on 4-1. From here, you need to decide whether or not you're going to level to 8 on 4-3. If you're missing a lot of units, slow rolling a bit on 7 is fine as the majority of your units are 2 and 3 costs. When you have rolled down at level 8, you need to decide whether or not to go level 9. This depends on your items, the amount of 2-stars you have, and your health. Most of the time, you will not find Lulu 2-star at level 8. If you're missing only 1 to 2 2-stars, then going level 9 is correct as long as you are not super weak. When you get to level 9, you add in either Urgot or Thresh. Thresh is great as you add in Chrono and the fights last very long, so you get a ton of value from it. In addition, Thresh generally stays alive long enough for him to pull in a lot of units. I have a general tier list for Thresh pulls. Keep in mind that this is a general tier list, so the units you want to pull in depends on the matchup. You add an Urgot when there is an enemy unit that is impossible to kill, like a mech or a stacked 3-star champion. But most of the time you add in whichever you hit first out of Thresh and Urgot. In the endgame, you want to adjust your board based on the lobby. If the last couple of players have very little magic damage, consider dropping 4 Mystic to add in other good units. If you're facing Cybernetics, 4 Mystics will not help you as all their damage is physical. General positioning with this comp looks like this. Here Nautilus is in the middle, which is where most people stack their frontline. If you have time to scout, put him where most people clump up their units. For example, against this positioning, Nautilus wants to be here as he will knock up Mordekaiser, Wukong, and Cassiopeia. You want Karma to always buff the Cassiopeia, and you want to protect Soraka more than Lulu. If you have RFC on the Cassiopeia, move her down next to the Soraka and Karma. Against the first guy, we want to stay away from the Gnar and the GP, therefore we position on the left side. We want to keep Lulu in the right corner, so that the Vi targets her. We want GP to target Nautilus so that he will get knocked up by him. We are spreading out our units so that if the Gnar ults, he does not throw our entire team away. If you have RFC on the Cassiopeia, move her down next to Karma and Soraka. Against the second guy, you want to position towards the right side. This is to make his Cassiopeia walk up all the way to our front line. His front line is split up, so Nautilus gets very little value here. We also want to keep Cassiopeia away from the Jace as he has Frozen Heart, and if she gets slowed, our damage output will be lowered. If you have RFC on Cassiopeia, move her down to the left side, as Cassiopeia will stay out of range from the Frozen Heart. Here, you also dodge the Shroud. Against the third guy, we want to have our units split up so they don't get grabbed by the Gnar. We want his Nautilus to ult one frontliner, and Mord is the least valuable. We also don't want his Jace to get too much value from his ult, therefore splitting up the frontline is good versus him as well. If you have RFC on the Cassiopeia, you just move her to the left corner. This is so that she stays away from the snipers. If they want to attack Cassiopeia, they need to waste time walking up. Lastly, we will talk about how the different galaxies change your game plan. On Little Legends, this comp is a bit stronger, as its biggest power spike is at level 8. Since everyone starts with 85 HP, the games are shorter and less people make it to level 9. On Galactic Armory, you need to be very careful with scouting if you get dropped really good Cassiopeia items. Although this comp can support multiple people, you still don't want to go into an 8-man contest. In the Nico-verse, you want to use the Nikos to finish off pairs so that you can go level 9 faster. If you high roll, you can save them to double Nico either Urgot or Thresh at level 9. On Medium Legends, this comp is a bit weaker, as people have more health and more people make it to level 9. On Super Dense, you can fit everything at level 7. Consider rolling here instead of at level 8 to hit everything. Here you can also slow roll to 3-star Jace and Cassiopeia if you're uncontested and very healthy. The trade sector doesn't change much, but you always need to be more careful when evaluating the relative strength of your board here. Here everyone is a lot stronger on average. On Treasure Trove, you want to itemize Soraka after Cassiopeia. She wants Spear of Sojin and AP items like Deathcap. The reason for this is that you get a ton of items here, so you can make Soraka your secondary carry by her doing a ton of healing. Star Cluster doesn't change much. Sometimes you want to take a 2-star unit off the carousel even if it has a bad component. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. It is filled with players from all different regions that are hungry to climb. If you want to get coached by me, the information about that is also on my Discord. Take care and see you in the next video.